Okay, so before we start the game, we have to first select our characters that we're going to be. As a solo playthrough, I'm going to be playing as two different characters, but normally, obviously if you're playing with two people, we'd represent a character each. 3 people, you'd add another character, and 4, and so on. So I think the max players is 4 players. Up here we have our tactical action, activate the medical drone. We have our flank action, and down here are just some reminders cards that I'm going to keep just to keep me on track. So we have our 2 characters selected. We have Lieutenant Cook over here, and we have Lieutenant Abbott. The difference between each character is that they have different dice, as you can see. These 2 dice represent the character's skills. And the 3 skills that you have in the game are Might, which is represented by this fist icon. There is Cunning, which is this eye icon. And there is Wisdom, which is here. Which is like kind of like a star, I suppose you'd call it, or like a star. So those are the 3 skills of the game, and each character's dice is weighted to a certain skill depending on their abilities. So if we look down here, we can see the different kind of scaling of each character's abilities. So Lieutenant Cook is way more advanced in his might ability. So his dice is heavily weighted towards the might symbol, which is the fist. So you can see also there's doubles on here as well, and a shield. And that represents a block or a double attack. So very, very good at fighting. And so that's the dice, that's the characters. I picked these out fairly arbitrarily. I think the best thing to do would be to balance your character's skills so that they have a fairly equal amount of different abilities. But for now we'll go with these 2, Lieutenant Cook on the left and Lieutenant Abbott on the right. And before we start the game, we have to set up the mission deck, which, as you can see, are these 3 sets of cards, decks of cards. This is the top card of the deck, and then this is going to be the bottom. So I'm going to first assemble the deck. We randomly choose, I've not seen these, I'm going to shuffle them a bit more. And I'm going to choose one of these. I'll put this one. And this is like the boss card, the final card of the deck. Next, we're going to take, I believe it is 4 of each. Yeah, that's right. 4 of each level. So we can see here the 3 icons. That means it's a level 3 card. So that'll go on top of the boss cards. I'm going to pick 4 of these. Let's go here, here, and here. I'll put these ones to the side. And we'll do the same with the 2 and the 1. Now that we have these assembled into our deck, I'll put them up here, and then we take one of these, and this is our beginning card. I'll take this one, I'll put that on top. So the mission deck is assembled. Next thing we need to do is each character needs a cybernetic enhancement. So these are over here in this deck. So I'm just going to deal one out to each character, but you could probably, if you wanted to, draft them or look through them at the start of the game and pick one that you like, but we'll go just a random run this time. So these are cybernetic implants for each character. As you can see, it's kind of like a little implant, little computer chip. Once per chapter. This is for Lieutenant Abbott's cybernetic implant. Once per chapter, when not in combat, you may re-roll your crew dice, applying only the second result. So when not in combat specifically. So there's certain situations we'll be in that will require us to roll a certain result to pass, for example, or to not take damage or something like that. But we'll see those later on. Lieutenant Cook's is called Neural Override. And his says, when you roll a double outside of combat again, so before applying the result, you may change it to any single and apply that result instead. So that means if we roll a double, for example, like this, but we really wanted to get a different icon, we can then cancel the double and choose any result that we'd like instead. For example, this one. Handy, very handy, because a lot of these kind of skill checks will ask you to roll a specific symbol. So, with this setup completed, each player has their cybernetic implants, they have their dice, and their medical records, which I'm going to actually keep the medical records down below, but it will be represented on screen each time a character would take damage. So, everything's set up, and we're ready to go. So, it's time to begin our playthrough of Escape the Dark Sector. Here we go. So, let's turn over the first card to begin. Having finally deactivated the Briggs containment field, you head off directly for your ship's last known location. In your haste, you stray off course, marching directly into a dead end. Okay. Put one additional Act 3 card at random on top of the boss card. Now. All is not lost. You appear to have located a forgotten storage facility. Okay. So I need to find an additional Act 3 card and put it on top of the boss card now. So I have one here. I'm going to lift up the cards and add an additional Act 3 card on top. So that makes the adventure longer. And it will also mean that we have one more challenge to face before we reach that final boss. Okay. For each crew member, draw a starting weapon and an item card. So we have the starting weapons here. We have the slug pistol. And another slug pistol. Okay. So for each weapon, I'm going to take a ammunition dice and I'm going to place it on according to the ammo icon here. Okay, slug pistol, both ranged weapons. Okay. So yes, a starting weapon and an item card. The item cards are in this pile here. A power wrench, close combat weapon. It says once per round of close combat, when you roll a double, you may roll again and apply both results. That's pretty good. When you roll a double, you can roll again and apply both. So you get the double and you get that additional one. That's really good. Oh, wow, okay. And a battle rifle. This is a large ranged weapon and it takes up 2 item slots. You can only have 4, by the way. So he's currently using 2 of his slots. He's using 1 item slot for his pistol and then 2 for his battle rifle. So when it comes to ranged weapons as well, he's going to have to choose between the 2. Very good. And this starts with 2 ammunition. Okay. Just then, a deafening alarm begins to sound. Your escape has been detected. You check your weapons, exchange a knowing look with your fellow crew, and move out. Turn the first chapter card now. Okay, here we go. First chapter card. First real challenge. Okay, what is that? As the doors ahead hiss open, slimy tentacles fly out and seize you, dragging you into the darkness beyond. Oh yeah, sorry, I was meant to say that I'm supposed to designate a character to walk through the door. So you're supposed to, before you actually announce that you're going to be turning the card, you say which character is going to be actually turning the card. In this case, it doesn't really matter, because they're both at equal health, but later on in the game, you really want to know who's going to be doing it, because a lot of things can trigger the moment you enter. So I'll say Lieutenant Abbott was the first through the door. Any reference to you refers to the character that opened the door. So you lose 1 HP and must immediately begin close combat alone for 1 round. Then as a group choose 1 option. So we'll lose the 1 HP. Everybody starts at 12, he's gone down to 11. Evade. All members of the crew lose 1 HP, pulling you from the grip of the killer organism. Turn the next chapter card. Or attack and continue close combat with all members of the crew. So, first thing we need to do is begin close combat alone with Abbott and the Beast for 1 round. So, in order to do close combat, we need to take Abbott's dice and we roll it. Let's roll. Abbott rolls a wisdom. In this case, actually, let's set up the creature's dice. So each creature that we encounter in combat has an associated number of dice and icons of dice with each creature. And we're going to put those down below. So it's all of those plus 1 for each character. So that is the creature's starting dice. And this represents the creature's health and also the symbols that we are trying to match with our dice to beat it. So in this case, Lieutenant Abbott rolled a wisdom, which allows us to knock off 1 wisdom from our opponent. But it also meant that Lieutenant Abbott now has taken 1 damage from the creature. The creature's number of damage is represented down the bottom right. In this case, it's the 1 close combat damage. This number represents how many items we draw when we beat it, and these are the associated health points. So, since Lieutenant Abbott didn't roll a shield, he rolled a wisdom. He was able to knock off 1 wisdom dice, but also now has to take 1 damage since there's no shield. So, Abbott needs to take 1 damage. Down to 10 already. Not good. Not good. So we have a choice now. We can evade. Everyone loses 1 HP. Or continue close combat. The incentive here for continuing to fight the guy is that we draw 3 item cards. And the item cards can be quite powerful. And also a way of actually recovering back the health we lost fighting the thing. So I think in this case, we're going to continue the close combat. So Abbott and Cook are going to prepare for the next round of combat. Lieutenant Cook has his power wrench, of course. So we can, when we roll a double, we can roll again. Abbott doesn't actually have any close combat weapons. They're both just going to go in and start swinging. So we're going to take both their dice and roll them. So Abbott rolled a double wisdom and a shield. And Cook rolled a cunning, which is interesting. Seeing as, which is actually quite a good result really, because we can get rid of these 2 wisdom dice and the cunning dice here. So that's what we're going to do. So these goes away. The enemy's down to 2 health. The 1 damage applied back from the creature in retaliation happens to Lieutenant Cook, since he didn't actually roll a shield. He goes down to 11. And Lieutenant Abbott rolled a shield, so he doesn't take any damage. He blocked the creature. So, that's the first round of combat done. Second round of combat begins. We take these 2 dice back and we decide what they're going to do for their rounds. Next round, I think both lads should start swinging again. We can knock this creature out before it has a chance to retaliate. Okay. Interesting. So, both Lieutenant Cook and Abbott didn't roll any of the required dice for the combat. So no might symbols were rolled. They're both cunning and wisdom, but doubles. And also shields. So neither of them would take any damage. With the power wrench, Lieutenant Cook can, when he rolls a double, roll again and apply both results. So I think he's going to do that again. He's going to roll again. Another unlucky roll, a wisdom, which is no good to us. But I think the shield still applies from his previous roll. So no damage done to the creature, but none taken in return. We go again. Start swinging. Okay, perfect. Abbott coming in clutch and taking a double might. So he runs in swinging, batters the creature of its last 2 life points. Great. It doesn't take any damage in return. But since that was the last 2 life points, the creature isn't alive to actually retaliate any damage. And so the creature is destroyed. So, the creature actually allows us to draw 3 item cards. Got Chrono Bomb, Frag Grenade, and Med Pack. So, Chrono Bomb says, after rolling any number or type of dice, discard this to re-roll them all, applying only the second results. It's quite useful. In range, Frag Grenade, in ranged combat, discard to throw this grenade. This counts as a shoot icon, but you do not roll a hit dice. Hit dice are the enemy's retaliation dice. So it kind of represents you maybe hiding behind a piece of cover and throwing the grenade over. The enemy doesn't really get a chance to shoot you back. And you get to roll an explosive ammo dice and apply the result. Explosive ammo, very powerful against certain types of enemies. Finally, we have Med Pack, which is discard to restore 1 health point to each member of the crew. Okay, so I think maybe we'll have Lieutenant Abbott can take the Chrono Bomb with his final item slot. And we'll give these two to this guy, Lieutenant Cook. A slug pistol, power wrench, frag grenade, and a med pack. Great. Okay. Next round. The next chapter card. Okay, I think for this chapter, Lieutenant Cook is going to lead. So he walks through. What does he see? Ahead, 2 elite guards are marching an alien prisoner to the brig. As a group, choose one option. We can attack. Their gear might prove useful. Begin combat. We can hide, slip into the shadows, trying to avoid detection as they pass. All members of the crew must roll their crew dice, and no might must be rolled. So we can attack or hide, basically. That's our 2 options. With a success, no might is rolled. You all stay hidden. Turn on to the next chapter card. With a failure, you're detected. One guard drags the prisoner away and the other comes after you. Begin combat. Okay, so we basically need to not roll a might. Unfortunately, both of our characters are kind of have high might stats. So they're not the best, but we do have this neural override. When you roll a double outside of combat before applying the result, you can change it to a single and apply that result instead. And this guy's also got, when not in combat, you can re-roll your crew die and apply the second result. Okay. So I think we're going to try it. Let's do it. We're going to hide, or at least attempt to hide. Oof. Abbott drew a wisdom. And Cook drew, or rolled, 2 might symbols. Which is 2 the exact opposite ones we don't want. But his neural override says whenever we roll a double outside of combat, before applying the result, you can change it to a single and apply that instead. So we'll change this to a wisdom. 2 wise men. 2 wisdoms mean there's no might, and we get to slip by unnoticed. Brilliant. On to the next one. So we'll have Cook lead the way again. In we go. What does it say? From the darkness ahead, you hear a series of rapid popping sounds and a flurry of bullets whistle past your ear. Before you can react, there is another burst of fire and a bullet slams into your shoulder, knocking you down. You lose 2 HP. So immediately, Lieutenant Cook takes 2 HP. 2 damage. 1, 2, down to 9. When silence falls, you edge forward to find the body of a man, his fatal wounds still smouldering. A contract has been fulfilled, a bounty no doubt soon to be collected. There is no sign of the assassin, so you lead the crew on a quick search for items of value. Draw 2 item cards. Okay, wow. Beam emitter, which is a large energy weapon, or alien blade, which is a large close combat weapon. Alien blade says once per round of close combat, when you hit, you may remove an additional chapter dice of the same type. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. We need to make room, you see. What I could do, and what I think I might do, is have Lieutenant Cook discard his slug pistol So that leaves us with one empty slot. Then I'll have him use his med pack. So we'll discard this to restore 1 HP to each member of the crew. So he goes back up to 10. Abbott goes up to 11. So we'll discard this and restore 1 HP. So now that we've used those 2 items, we have available 2 slots. What do we want to pick up though? The beam emitter or the alien blade? I don't know. We've already got battle rifle here, which is quite powerful for ranged weapon. So maybe having a close combat weapon would be useful. But the beam emitter though is cool. It's just cool. And it fires 3 bullets at a time. Actually, you know what I might do? It's like an embarrassment of riches. I'm going to take the battle rifle and discard it. And I'm going to take the beam emitter. Because I think, from what I remember, there are more creatures in the game that have vulnerabilities to energy damage, than they do bullets. Normal bullets, like this type of ammo, maybe are not as strong as energy weapon. That's my theory. Again, I could be proven wrong, and there could be a guy who's vulnerable to bullets. But the downside of the beam emitter as well is that whenever you roll this symbol, the weapon overheats and you take a damage. Which with this weapon, when you're rolling 3 dice, there's a good chance that that's going to happen. But we'll see. Maybe it'll all come crashing down, and our weapon will explode in our hands. For now, I'll take the beam emitter, and we'll have this guy, Lieutenant Cook, use his alien blade. Actually, now that I've just realised it, he doesn't have any ranged weapon anymore because I got rid of it. So, you know what? Let's keep it this way. Because maybe having a specialist in one and a specialist in the other. We'll see. Maybe that decision may have shot us in the foot, but we're going to live with it. This guy is going to be an absolute beast in close combat, and he does have the frag grenade, which allows him at least one ranged attack, which is okay. So, stepping through the next one, we're going to have Lieutenant Abbott on the right here. A curious creature. Hurrying onward through the detention level, you pass a cell where a curious creature is detained behind thick, humming laser bars. Seeing you, it begins to speak. A series of wet, clicking and melancholy sounds in an alien language you cannot understand. You gather it means you no harm. From within the folds of its slimy mass, it produces an object. It carefully passes it through the bars, gesturing that you should take it. Draw an item card. That's quite nice. I kind of expected him to bite us or something. Anyways, speed stims is a gear. After rolling your crew dice, and before applying the result, discard it to change the result to cunning. So we don't actually have any item slots unless we get rid of the slug pistol. And the slug pistol at this stage is nowhere near our beam emitter. You know what? Yeah, let's do that. We'll get rid of the slug pistol. Making some crazy decisions here. We'll get the speed stims, just in case. It's going to be more useful than that gun now, because I don't think we're really going to... Unless I could have given it to him. It's done now. It's done now. I'm going to make each decision and keep rolling with it. Just then, the shouting of angry guards reaches your ears. You hurry onward, never learning the fate of this benevolent being. Aww. Okay, so we've now reached the level 2, as you can see with the 2 symbols here. Who's going to be the brave man to do it? Lieutenant Abbott is going to step forward into the darkness. Oh my god. There is a piercing screech as an alien lets out its hunting cry, dropping onto you from some concealed perch in the darkness overhead. You must roll cunning in one attempt now or lose 2 HP. Right. Just got to try and roll cunning, which is the eyeball symbol. He did it! Congratulations. Okay, so he needs to roll a cunning attempt or lose 2 HP, so he managed that very well. Then, as a group, choose one option and begin close combat. So we can fight in a defensive formation, which means he gets 5 dice and does 1 damage. Or we can corner it, and he has 3 dice, but he deals 2 damage in return. I think if we corner it, we could nearly beat this guy before he even has a chance to retaliate. Seeing as Lieutenant Cook now is so tooled up for close combat, I think we can do it. So let's go. We need to apply his dice. In this case, 2 might and 1 cunning, plus 2 more, 1 for each character. And he does 2 damage in close combat. Any time we would not roll a shield. So, here we go. We'll take our 2 dice here. And we'll roll them. So both lads are going to go straight in to close combat. Here we go. Here we go. Oof. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Abbott rolls a wisdom. And Cook rolls 2 cunning. Which is really good because our opponent has 2 cunning here. And also a shield, which is very helpful too for mitigating the damage. But the alien blade says once per round of close combat, when you hit, you may remove an additional chapter dice of the same type. Right. Unfortunately, there are no more additional dice that we can remove of the same type. The power wrench, once per round of close combat, when you roll a double, you may roll again and apply both results. Okay, so we'll take this and we'll re-roll it. And get a wisdom, which Lieutenant Abbott already did. So, the 2 cunning dice are taken off. That was a big swing. Plus the wisdom dice from Lieutenant Abbott. Abbott takes 2 damage since he didn't roll a shield. So he's down to 10. Not too bad. Not too bad. Go back into straight back into close combat again for the second round. Lieutenant Cook rolls a might, and so does Lieutenant Abbott, which means our 2 remaining might dice are immediately taken off. And normally, since we didn't roll any shields, we would have taken 2 damage each there. But the creature was already dead. So he can't swing back at us. Killed the creature. Excellent. Excellent work. And we get 2 item dice. So let's have a look here. Power stims. Force field. Force field is cool. Force field says when you would lose any amount of HP, discard the force field to draw none. So that's an option. Is that better than this? Maybe. Power stims. After rolling your crew die and before applying the result, discard it to change a single result to might. Now, as we've seen, both characters are quite strong in the might department, so I don't think this is really necessary. So we'll discard this. But do we want to keep the force field? Is that better than maybe the speed stims or the chrono bomb? I think it's probably better than speed stims. So we'll put that there and we will take the force field. Okay, so Abbott again is going to once again step through to the next area. Right. The floor here becomes a rumbling conveyor belt, ushering discarded machine parts through a brutal dismantler. A series of robotic limbs clamping, cutting and scorching whatever comes their way. Each member of the crew must choose one method to try and get through. Foresight or brute force. Foresight says you must roll 1 wisdom in 1 attempt. Maybe Abbott could go for that. He's got high wisdom. Brute force means you must roll 2 might in 3 attempts. Apply these results to each member of the crew individually. Success means you make it through with barely a scratch. Failure, you are mangled by the machine and lose 2 HP. That's a bit of a sting. So Abbott is going to attempt to roll wisdom in 1 attempt. And he did it! What a hero! Abbott rolls wisdom and manages to scrape through without a scratch. Cook then attempts to roll 2 might with his brute force in 3 attempts. 3 attempts to roll 2 might. There's 1. Let's try it again. Get the second one. Oof, that's a wisdom. He's got 1 more attempt. And he rolls 2 cunning. Okay, well, we'll activate neural override. Whenever you roll double outside of combat, before applying the result, you can change it to a single and apply that result instead. I'm going to apply it to a might, and that means we've got 2 might in 3 attempts. So we make it through with barely a scratch. Whew! Okay. So I think again, maybe actually for this one we'll have Cook go through first. An intriguing noble, flanked by bodyguards, stops you. They bring forward a selection of items he wishes to trade. I insist, he smirks. Reveal 3 item cards. Then, as a group, choose one option. Trade or refuse to trade. Trade means to discard 2 items, to take one of the items revealed, and refuse to trade, he becomes enraged, strides off into the darkness, instructing his goons to deal with you. Begin combat. So the options are, let's see what we got here. Expired meds, brain stims, and chrono bomb. I wonder would he accept a chrono bomb for a chrono bomb? That would mean we could pretty much pass through unharmed. Discard any 2 items to take one of his. Right. I think we might do it. Because he's quite formidable. in combat. Yeah, I'm going to discard Chronobomb, Force Field. And I'm going to take his Chronobomb. Maybe his is a different color or something. I don't know. Anyway. So he's most pleased. We take one of his items and turn the next chapter card. Okay. Once again, we're going to have Lieutenant Cook lead the way. Still in the second chapter, by the way. You interrupt a smuggler loading illicit cargo onto her hover bike. She curses and tosses a grenade at you. It detonates on impact, showering you with mind-altering toxins. You launch into a psychotic attack against your fellow crew while she makes good her escape. Okay, a psychotic attack. Some kind of psychic manipulation. The other members of the crew must each roll their crew die. Any that do not block lose 2 HP at your hands. Any that do block defend themselves, causing you to lose 1 HP. When you come to your senses, you realize that in her haste, the smuggler left something behind and draw an item card. Okay, so the other members of the crew roll their crew dice. And he got a shield. Any that do not block lose 2 HP. Any that do block defend themselves, causing you to lose 1 HP. So, unfortunately, Lieutenant Cook, in his psychotic rage, goes down to 9 HP. We get to draw an item card from the one that she left behind. So let's have a look. A rusty pipe. Close combat weapon. Once per round of close combat, when you miss, you may re-roll, applying only the second result. We'll take that. And we'll give it to Abbott here. Excellent. Great. Who are we going to have a lead? I think in this case we'll go back to Lieutenant Abbott, seeing as he's got more health. Let's have a go. We're now on level 3. With an almighty tremor, a section of the walkway blows out into space. Unable to breathe, you cling to the walls and claw desperately to pull yourselves towards the airlock. All members of the crew must roll their crew dice in unison. Okay, let's do that now. Abbott rolled a wisdom and Cook rolled a might. For each might they roll, that member of the crew can choose either to pull themselves through the airlock or to help the other get inside. So I think Lieutenant Cook, having the highest might strength, is more likely to roll another might. So we'll have him pull Abbott through. After applying each roll, all members of the crew lose 1 HP unless they are all inside the airlock. Oh, unless they are all inside the airlock. So each member of the crew loses 1 HP. Any crew still outside must then try again in unison. Crew already inside no longer roll. When all crew get in, you trigger recompression and turn the chapter card. Okay, so Lieutenant Cook is still left outside in the outside the airlock. So he's going to have to roll again to see if he gets back in. And he doesn't. If any crew members are still outside after 3 attempts, the passage is finally sealed by a cluster of debris, and you all stagger onward. So, since he didn't get it again, Do we have anything we can modify? Unfortunately, no. So everybody loses another HP, down to 7. This is not good, not good. I'll cook again one more time. Rolls of wisdom again. And they're down to 6. He's down to 7. Good lord. This is not good. They both took 3 damage, which is more than any that they've taken in one go so far. But they're all made it through. And you stagger onward. So with Abbott at having the most health, I'm going to have him lead the next room. Uh-oh. Leading onward into the gloom, you hear something strange. You raise a fist, bringing the crew to a halt. A moment later, the passage is flooded with a swarm of vicious insectoids. Begin combat. Combat special. There's a special rule just for this combat. Each member of the crew may take the shoot action once before the swarm is upon you. Then begin close combat. The first time the insectoids are defeated, roll a chapter die. If the result is might, a second wave arrives immediately and you must fight them a second time. Jeez. This is pretty brutal. Okay, let's set up the dice. So we need 3 might, 1 wisdom, and 2 more, which are another might dice, wisdom. Okay, 6 total is the total amount. Down on the right here, I'm not sure if you can see, there's a little table that determines what each type of ammunition, the amount of damage that each type of ammunition does. Just in case you were wondering. So, he also does 2 damage to us in close combat, which is not good. So, each member of the crew may take the shoot action once before the swarm is upon us, right? So, Lieutenant Abbott is going to raise the beam emitter. Oh yeah, and also, Cook can throw a grenade, that's good. It counts as the shoot action, but you do not roll a hit dice. Roll 1 explosive ammo dice and apply the result. Okay, excellent. Let's take an explosive ammo. And we're going to take 1 big blast into the swarm before they arrive at us. Okay, excellent. That's 3 laser damage. Plus, this symbol, which is like the exclamation mark and a triangle. That means that the grenade was a dud. So the grenade did no damage. That would have nearly blown the whole thing. Killed them all. Unfortunately not. So the grenade was a dud. It just landed in their midst. Almost like a potato. Doing no damage. Just bounces off one of their heads. But Abbott, the hero, shot 3 times with his beam emitter and did 3 damage. So that's 3 dice we get to remove. What do we want to take off? I think if we take off these 2 plus 1 of these, because it leaves us open now, we could possibly roll a wisdom or 2 might, whereas if we had all might, for some reason the odds seem a little bit better this way, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay. So now we're in close combat with the beasts. The ammunition dice go back up here. If Abbott wanted to fire the beam emitter again, he would have to take a reload action. But since we're in close combat, that's no longer an option. Once you go into close combat, you can't actually come back out. Okay, Abbott's going in with his rusty pipe. Lieutenant Cook with his alien blade. Let's do it. Lieutenant Cook rolls 1 might, and Abbott rolls 2 wisdom with a shield. Okay. So he's not going to take any damage, and he takes off one of the wisdom dice. You see, it paid off. Lieutenant Cook, once per round of close combat, when you hit, you may reveal an additional chapter dice of the same type. So he rolls a might. There's 2 might dice left. Takes 1 off with his attack, and then a second one with the alien blade. Excellent work. So since the enemy has no combat dice left, or no chapter dice left, the damage doesn't apply from his attacks returned because there's no insects. However, the first time the insects are defeated, roll a chapter dice. If the result is might, a second wave arrive immediately and must fight them a second time. Okay. You roll a chapter dice, and if it's might, more of them arrive. It's not. It's wisdom. So, we defeated the insectoids. Brilliant. Unfortunately though, they don't actually return any items when defeated, so you can't imagine an insectoid is going to be holding too much loot other than alien jelly or something, or bones. That's good. Excellent. So in between rounds, we can now take actions. And I'm going to have Lieutenant Abbott reload his beam emitter. That means taking 3 energy dice, put them back on. Brilliant. That performed really well that round. It was a worthy inclusion. And also, had we had the bullet type of ammunition, it would have taken 2 bullets to kill 1, or to do 1 damage. Whereas energy weapons is 1 damage per successful roll. So that's good. Now Abbott again is going to lead the way into this next section. Ooh, what's this? In this loading bay, a cargo bot has gone haywire and slain its keepers. It now wields their weapon, and you appear to be next in line to suffer its wrath. You are greeted with a flurry of laser fire. You must roll 1 hit dice and then begin combat. So we take a hit dice and we roll it. Oof! He takes 1 damage. So he's gone down to 6. Okay. And begin combat. Right. So we're going to start with ranged combat. And we're going to have Lieutenant Abbott fire his energy weapon directly at the bot. So he's going to take these, and we're going to take a hit dice as well. Because the hit dice represents the bot's return fire. So when we're shooting off our laser beams, he gets a shot back at us. And he does 2 damage per hit dice, which is... Oh, before I do that, actually, let's set up the enemy's chapter dice. Great. So, let's see. Let's take our dice. Lieutenant Cook, of course, doesn't have a ranged weapon, so he can't participate in the ranged battle. He's just standing at the back of the room with a big sword, basically. Actually, what can he do? Instead of doing that, what can he do? Let's have him actually, instead of firing, let's have him activate the medical drone. Medical drone is an action that you can take once per combat that allows you to gain back a health point. So he goes back up to 7. Whereas Abbott takes out his beam emitter and fires. 2 shots plus 1 hit dice. So he takes a shot from the bot, but scores 2 in return. So I think what we might do, we'll take off these 2. These are our most difficult dice to roll. So the beam emitter, he's fired all the ammunition for that. We take back our dice from here, and the medical drone has been used up. It's recharging. You can only use it now once we've reached the next chapter. Okay, since Abbott can't fire his beam emitter, he needs to take a reload action. And since he can't do anything now other than hide, basically, or engage in combat, let's have both of them leap into action and fight the robot in combat. So we'll take both their dice and we'll go in swinging. Okay. Cook rolls a might. Abbott rolls a cunning, which is unfortunate because we've already removed the 2 cunning dice. Okay, well, with the rusty pipe, once per round of close combat, when you miss, you may re-roll, applying only the second result. So we're going to do that. And he rolls a wisdom, which is great. So I'll remove 1 wisdom from that guy. And he didn't roll a shield actually, so they're both going to take 2 damage. And Cook, once per round of close combat, when you hit, you may reveal an additional chapter dice of the same type. So he takes off these 2 might dice. But they both now take 2 damage. So he's gone down to all the way down to 5. And he's gone from 5 down to 3. Okay. So 1 more wisdom dice left to roll. Can they do it? I think so. I hope so. So roll their 2 dice. There it is. Double wisdom. And the bot is destroyed. Excellent. So, in between rounds, we're going to have Abbott reload his energy weapon. Okay, so Abbott is actually, he's only at 3 health, whereas Cook is at 5. So let's have Cook uncover the next room. Oh yeah, actually, sorry, the bot gave us 1 item. A battery cannon. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Ranged weapon. Uses bullets, and it fires 3 bullets at a time. That's pretty good. So in this case, we're going to discard the power wrench, and we're going to equip the battery cannon. That takes 3 bullets. Brilliant. So I've got 2 quite powerful setups now, I hope. The only thing I'm worried about is if we have enough health to be able to survive the next battle. The drone is recharged. Medical drone. Okay, Lieutenant Cook steps forward into the darkness. The air is thick and stale in this gloomy conduit junction, where 3 large glistening eggs stand in eerie silence. As you approach, they begin to steam and tremble. You try to dash past. You try to dash past, but acid-drenched tendrils lash out from within. Each member of the crew, in turn, must roll their crew dice along with one chapter dice 3 times. After each roll, if the trait shown on the chapter dice is also shown in the crew dice, they are lashed by one of the alien hatchlings and must choose either to lose 2 HP or discard an item card as the alien acid burns through it. Okay, so each member of the crew must roll the crew die along with one chapter dice 3 times. Let's do it for Abbott first. If the trait shown on the chapter dice, in this case a wisdom, is also shown on the crew dice, which is 2 might, they are lashed. So in this case he's not. Let's try again. Oof! 2 match. So he takes 2 HP or discard an item. You know what I might do? No. Yeah, let's just discard the chrono bomb. Which, its effect is basically allows you to reroll. But in this case, we could reroll and it'd be some of them worse. So I'll just take that. Discard an item as the alien acid burns through it. The final roll, and it's not match. He rolls a might and the alien rolls a wisdom. So he made it through, only losing a bit of an item. Not too bad. Now it's Cook's turn. He rolls. Alien rolls a might and he rolls 2 cunning. Okay. I go again. Alien rolls a cunning and he rolls 2 cunning. However, neural override kicks in. Whenever you roll a double outside of combat, before applying the result, you may change it to a single and apply that result instead. So let's change this to a might. Excellent. Very lucky. And his final roll is a might. So he's going to have to either take 2 damage or lose one of his items. And his items are very good. So he's going to take 2. From 5 down to 3. Ooh, but we did it. At what cost? Having made it past, you press on with no thought of waiting around to see what horrendous form the emerging creatures might take. So, we've made it to the final card, the final chapter of the deck. A big door. It says, do not read until you have completed the last chapter card, which we've just completed. This is it. If your sensors are correct, behind this door is the hangar from where your ship is being held. But by whom? You prepare yourselves for one final battle. Turn over now. Here we go. Oh yeah, who's gonna enter first? Let's have Abbott going first. Here we go. Deep breath. Oh my god. It's Sergeant Steele. He's a giant robot mecha character, looks like. He says, let's see what you've got. Begin combat. Combat special. You know what I'll do? Put this up here. Combat special. Whenever a member of the crew blocks Sergeant Steele, they are stunned and cannot take any actions the following round. If a round begins with all members of the crew stunned, Sergeant Steele triggers his dreadnought armor to auto-repair instead of attacking. Roll a chapter dice and add it to the row of those remaining. Wow. Okay. And it takes 2 bullets to deal 1 damage to him. It takes 2 energy to deal 1 damage to him. And it takes one explosive round will only do 1 damage to him. Other than that, he does 3 damage each time unblocked. Currently our characters actually have 3 damage left on their health, by the way. So, let's set out his dice. This could be the final battle. Well, it is the final battle, but it could be the final moments of life for our characters. Final breaths. Whew. Okay. So let's start things off with ranged combat. Both characters... Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll send Cook or Abbott around to the flank. A flanking action, which we've not done so far. But we'll give it a go. Okay, we'll send Abbott around on the flank. We take his dice and place it here. So this round, he's scampering off to the side to attempt to flank Sergeant Steele. However, Sergeant Steele gets to take a hit. If Sergeant Steele wins this hit, maybe I shouldn't take a flanking action then. I think it's gonna happen either way. You know, he's gonna take a hit dice this turn if we shoot at him. But he's gonna take a hit dice if we flank. Neither character has any health potions or anything like that. I think the heroic way to end this is to just straight up start blasting. Rather than losing it all on a flanking attempt, I think let's just start blasting. 6 total dice plus 2 hit dice. If the hit dice rolls up this, then that character is managed to avoid its fire. But if it comes up like this, the character has taken 3 damage and will die. And the game will be over. So, this is it. Let's roll. Let's see how much damage we can do. Oof. And there it is. Lieutenant Cook manages to squeeze off 2 hits. Whereas Abbott... Oh no, actually, sorry, yeah. Cook actually rolled an exclamation mark. A danger sign. Which means that a weapon jams. So these don't actually do any damage. Absolutely tragic. Abbott manages to squeeze off 1 energy beam. But Sergeant Steele, seeing our 2 characters taking cover on the other side of the room, just starts blasting. And he deals 2 hits, so that's a hit each. To each of our characters, who go from 3 to 0 and are both killed. So we didn't even take a scratch off this guy. That's how tough he is. Because this energy attack that we did, we actually needed 2 to do even 1 damage. Oof, Sergeant Steele. That was tough. Okay. So, since both characters are dead, even if one of them had died, this would trigger the end game. Since both are dead, Mission failed. Mission failed says, if any crew member's HP is reduced to 0, that player must turn this card around and read it aloud. You fall hard to the cold metal floor, bleeding and exhausted. Around you, the battle rages on, its furious roar, all but muted to your perforated eardrums. Its flailing combatants, all but indiscernible to your blurred vision. Without you, the rest of the crew are soon bested, and together your near lifeless bodies are dragged back to the detention block. You are thrown into high security cells, sealed in by shimmering force fields behind which no one can hear you scream. Your adventure ends here.